Well met. This has been Brode, and you're watching Born to be
Cosmo.
Oh, snap.
Welcome to the Born to be Cosmo Marvel Snap card game podcast, where we talk about all things related to the Marvel Snap card game. We are joined by a special guest tonight for a celebration of a special soul that departed this universe far too soon. Lee, thank you for joining us tonight. So we at Cosmo can mourn Galactus with a true devotee. Of course, we're also joined by fellow Galactus mourner and co-host Nate Wolfe. And to round us out, we have celebrity card game streamer and content creator ZombiesGoNomNom. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm looking forward to doing a cameraless version of Born to be Cosmo. I won't have that bright light shining in my face.
I like the Pikachu.
Yeah, that's the Nate Wolfe special right there.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I have our terrible cosplay pictures up. If you want me to swap yours out, let me know. It was just there as a placeholder.
Yeah, I didn't want the cosplay thing repping me for an entire episode, so I'm the only one who's too vain to do it. You guys are good sports. You
can call me Fat Spider-Man.
Fat Spider-Man. Well, it's tough. It's tough being a good sport because it was a week in the Marvel Snap universe. I think it's fair to say that despite Conquest Mode being a delight, this patch kind of missed the mark. It's going to be interesting to explore why that is, because I think it goes well beyond Galactus. But don't worry, there will be more complaining tonight than you can handle with respect to the Galactus nerfs. This is a pro-Galactus podcast, anti-Howard the Duck podcast. I'm speaking for you, Nate. And, I'm going to warn y'all because I think that, here we like to call the things out we enjoy. And there's going to be some positive, genuinely, I think Conquest Mode is a hit. But unfortunately, everything else that's kind of circling the Marvel Snap wagon was kind of a bust. So let's just dive right in and start with bundles and the economy. So,
3 times the value.
Yeah, not quite a bird. 3 times the value. Not quite 3 times the value. Yeah, exactly. So, we're not going to cover all the bundles tonight, but we're going to cover 2 bundles that we think warrant attention and we could not ignore. It's like watching a slow motion car wreck, a 3x value slow motion car wreck. Car wreck. Was that a Freudian slip? Yeah.
Card wreck.
I mean, this bundle is ass. But I cannot match friend of the show Safety Blades assessment, so I'm just going to read it out. Something is wrong with this image. 3x value of what? You're saying all this should cost 150 AUD? Been trying not to mention economy on the feed for a little while, but come on. Don't drop the card, then claim it's worth this much with 1,000 credits? Hashtag Marvel Snap. And one of the Snap Zone content creators, Lauren Whatever, tried to break down how this actually could be 3x value, and she had to put herself into quite the pretzel to try and come up with why that is. And guys, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it, but I know sometimes it's hard to skip on the bundle if you like the variant or whatever, but if you can resist the urge on this one, I highly recommend you don't buy it. To send a message. I mean, some of these bundles have been kind of crap, and we bought them anyways. This is. I think this one really goes beyond the pale.
Mega crap.
So, dear friends, what do you think of Not Quite a Bird? 3x value.
Oh yeah, it's certainly a bundle. One of the crazier things about this one is we usually get a lot of the information in advance, right? We've known these bundles a month out or whatever. And with this one, that wasn't the case. This wasn't there a month or two ahead of time. It feels like
Like
it got
they knew it
thrown
was a
together.
turd.
It's just like it's kind of ridiculous, and it just it touches on one of the more sore spots of the game recently with the flexible series drops and withholding Darkhawk, and now it's like, but you could buy it for $30 and get almost nothing else with it. I mean, you have to value the variant like crazy highly because you're getting like nothing else. 1,000 credits is like nothing. I really like the breakdown that she did. That really kind of puts it in place, like just how ridiculous it is. And obviously we're all gonna like meme on the 3 times value because it's even just like more absurd.
That's a
But
real classic, like mobile gamer
yeah.
like thing, right? So I
Mhm.
mean, like that was like all over Diablo Immortal. I'm sure other mobile games,
It
but
was in this, well, not exactly the same, but so this is not the first time they've had like a little banner or a little something like this cause controversy.
It's
Like
the
when they did,
FOMO.
yeah, but when they did Nexus events, they had a little graphic or whatever, and it was like every 10 pulls gets you a 4-star thing, but they didn't say what those things were, so people just thought it was the card. And then they came out with a statement like, "Oh no, that wasn't supposed to go out," and it's like it's all this like seedy mobile marketing nonsense where it's like, yeah, they're trying to make value appear. And it's even funnier that they're putting this out alongside what is like probably one of the better bundles they've ever put out in terms of like gold bundles with that Scorpion one. It's like it makes this one look even worse.
Oh my gosh, I was just gonna
yeah,
say the bundles are usually like kind of bad,
Yeah.
but and I'm not a big fan of the noir ones, but the gold value was so good that
Yeah.
like it's $30 for like less gold than that, and so you pay $30 and you get more gold plus variants plus avatars. It was like that's a good deal. Like I
Yeah,
just
it's
got it for
one
the
of the
gold
better
because it was
ones
like a
they've
good
done.
deal. Like, but this is just trash. Like really bad. The artwork is cool. I really
Yeah, it's
like
good
it,
art.
but
He
I
has a
like.
million good art ones though. Like
But
there's so many
yeah.
good Darkhawk arts that, although I will say seeing this one animated is a really nice animated one.
is it worth
But
$30 though? Is the
no,
question.
I'm not buying it.
That's
I
like
think it's
30 bucks,
ridiculous.
$30 US, $40 Canadian,
Yep.
$50 in Australia. You think we've got it bad up here in the Canuck North? Like Australia is like, and I imagine it's even worse for people who live in like Brazil and Argentina, and it's just ridiculous. I just think that and I'm gonna try to like not curse too much tonight, Nate, but I'll but be on the lookout for the timestamps because it's probably a few are gonna slip out.
Oh,
If
I'll just take notes. Don't worry about it. Just
all
have
right,
be yourself.
so be myself. Yeah, I'm kind of in a cranky mood. So you think, well, the not quite a bird couldn't possibly be the worst economy type announcement of the week, right? Or bundle announcement, right? It can't get much worse than that. This hit rock bottom. Well, it turns out that Token Tuesdays, beloved Token Tuesdays, yeah, they nerfed them. Nothing sacred anymore.
Yep.
And I used your thumbnail for your video, which I thought was very well done. You should check that out on ZombiesGoNomNom's YouTube channel. But it looks like Galactus wasn't the only thing getting nerfed this week. Starting next
Yep.
week, Token Tuesday is changing. So that's this upcoming week. It's
Yep.
June 17th. So last Tuesday was your last chance to get a full value quote Token Tuesday. So
Man, screw these guys. It's so
yeah.
irritating.
So
Like-
here's what's happening, okay? And I think that it's pretty obvious, and it doesn't justify it, but it kind of explains it. It seems like they have everything kind of like they have every aspect of the economy mapped out in terms of potential revenue that it will bring in. So when they give you something for free, they have to take something back. Everything has to be net neutral, so it balances out. But that's so crazy to me because, like, at a certain point, like, these aren't real currencies. Like you don't have to like be revenue neutral for everything that you give. You can give a little bit more, and it's not going to necessarily cost your bottom line. I'm sure they have it all figured out, but I can't imagine that this is winning them long-term favor. I don't know. Token Tuesdays, you kind of said it best, Zombies. Why they did it. I won't steal your thunder, but perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what you get versus what you pay and why that's so convenient.
Yeah, so Token Tuesdays, people were super hyped on them when they first got announced because like it really sucked getting tokens before then. They didn't do a whole ton of bundles, and you were really just getting them in the caches, so it was kind of slow. Even slower before they made like the change for the not complete pool 3 players to get the tokens and whatnot. But these were really helpful. They made a pretty significant difference in like getting new cards and whatnot. It's like one of the few things bundle wise like pretty much no one's complained about. Like Token Tuesday, pretty good. If you want to save up tokens to get some new cards on release, you probably want to buy them. And most people have been able to do that because it's reasonably affordable with gold. So you can just generate the currency playing the game and you're good to go. Well, now they're getting more expensive. So not only does it cost more, but you're getting less for what you're paying for. And I think one of the reasons they're doing this is because, and we probably don't think about this as much being Pool 3 complete, but they added that random roll a Pool 3 card into the shop. So if you're
Yep.
Pool 3 incomplete, now, before you couldn't spend tokens on them, they removed that. Now it's back. We get a random card. And I've actually heard a few people excited about it. I still wish it was like kind of the old system for more agency, but regardless, it's helpful because we've talked about it before. Sometimes you just really want the Pool 3 cards
Yeah,
more
but
than anything.
it's
But the random
random.
sucks.
Like,
Yeah, the
so-
random super sucks as it's going to
Mhm.
get bigger and bigger, and there are going to be more bad cards rotating down. And
Dude,
it's not a great system.
my kid has been playing quite a bit, and I help him sometimes, and he's like free to play minus the rewards pass because it's actually really good value for somebody who's starting late. So like this month he'll be getting Spider-Man and Miles, right, which is really awesome.
Yeah,
But
great.
seeing that over there, like 1,000 tokens for a random card, and you get it, and it's gonna be like one of the bad ones, right? It's gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, name one, but like it's just something terrible. And like, is that worth 1,000 tokens? Like we never get tokens. Like getting tokens from a collector's cache on his account is so rare. It's bizarre.
And it's yeah, because you get them twice as often when you're pool 3 complete, because when you
Mhm.
pull a pull through, when you would pull a series 3 card, you get some tokens. It's funny. I remember being quite frustrated when I was going through pool 3. And I remember exclaiming once while I was having a rage, "How could it get any worse than this?"
And they were like, "We'll just stay tuned. We'll let you know. Just hold my beer."
Hold my beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've managed to make it worse, and not only is it worse, there are a lot more pool 3 cards, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you're gonna have to go through this longer, and this has to be a big problem for the growth of the game because, if you're starting out right now, it's
I
gonna
don't
be
know
tough.
how a new person would start the game, to be honest, if they wanted to be like remotely serious about it. I mean, if someone's being like an uber casual, maybe, but like it just seems like a crazy uphill climb, and they're really not making it any easier, despite all these like, oh yeah, you said it pretty much perfectly. It feels like they have like set amounts for the amount of money they need to make or sell things for or whatever, and what they can give out for free. And anytime they try and make something better, they account for that by like making something else worse. And it's so obvious. They like keep doing it, and they it's like, do you expect people not to notice?
I
'Cause with the
wonder.
Token Tuesday, for like the actual amount, it used to be the offers were like, I think it was between like 4 and 7 or 4 and 800 gold. It was a 0.9 ratio, which is like one of the best gold to token ratios in the game. And now, not only is it more expensive, you get 1,000 tokens for, I think, 1,400 gold. So free to play can't even like keep up with that. They can't even buy all those.
I think
But it's
that
0.7, which is like that's so much less.
But
It's
I think
very
you kind
significant.
of revealed the intent when you were describing it. You don't know how anyone could start this game and pick it up seriously. I
Mhm.
don't think that this game is meant to be played seriously. I think that that's where one gets the most enjoyment out of it is just, being silver 20 and saying I don't care, and then maybe
Sure.
going to get some medals in the proving ground or something. That's how they expect people to experience this game.
I mean, that's always going to be 90%. And I mean, we always forget because we did that in Hearthstone also that the legend players are the top, 1%. But I mean,
I still think that's a pretty weak excuse.
oh no,
To
I agree.
justify
I have to wonder how, like, either how much, like, like loan are they trying to pay off, or what percent does Marvel take that they need to like
right.
be charging this much, because this game is expensive. Like, people complain about Hearthstone being expensive. This game is expensive.
It is very
Well,
expensive.
Yeah.
they developed it for 4 years without making any money. I'm sure that they had people invest in them. I imagine that they're going to have to pay those investors back. I'm also told that the Marvel license, even though they're partnered with Marvel, they still have to pay. Licensing is not cheap, but they're doing pretty good. Like, what they've pulled in, like, over $70 million. I don't remember where I
Yeah.
read that,
Something
but
like that.
I mean, to put it into contrast, Honkai Star Rail, which is probably much larger of a game because it's a Hoyoverse game, MiHoYo. I don't know what to call them. They have so many different names. Their first banner, right? Their first gacha banner pulled in $30 million. So you kind of think about 70 over 6 months. They're making a lot of money. So I'm sure that everyone has gotten their bag. I just think they can, right? People are still, for all the people that complained about the Darkhawk bundle, there's still plenty of people who bought it. I see it on Ladder, or people tweeting.
I mean, if you like it and you have the money and you want it, then buy it. Like, I'm not complaining about that. Like, I'm not going to shame people that buy what you want, but like,
Well, also, like, to be honest, the people who are buying it, who are like in the ultra whale category, it's not really the same thing, because I think the reason why so many people hate this, right, is because they made Darkhawk harder to get for longer, and now they're trying to say, hey, if you want to just get it, well, you can just pay money, and boom, we have conveniently solved the problem we have created.
And we're gonna
yeah.
and we're gonna talk about that because with the patch came series drops, and that's gonna be covered in the patch section of this, and I think we all have a lot to say on that.
oh God, I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're ready. Well,
there's a couple of cards in particular that dropped right when Galactus got nerfed that didn't drop last time very conveniently, and I'm kind of irritated about that.
Well, before we get to that, and probably this is a testament to me not ordering the show notes very well, let's talk a little bit about why things have gotten a little bit more stingier and expensive. They've given us something new, or at least they tried to.
Yeah, classic.
Well, why don't you take us through that, Nate?
Oh, wait. Are we talking about the weekend missions? Is that the order that we're going through? Yeah, my bad. The things are in a funky order. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, this is kind of funny. We were supposed to have a cool new thing happening starting this weekend called weekend missions. Yeah. Yeah.
And in my defense, it's in the wrong order because I had to add this one in late because it broke last night when it was supposed to go
right.
Live.
Yeah.
And I never even, like, I thought that it wasn't even going to be worth talking about, or we could have talked about it in the broader economy section. But of course, they had to like break the lead and it's like when do they launch something that hasn't been a complete?
I was gonna say this happened like when High Evo went live too. It's so funny, like it's so on brand. Yeah, so there was supposed to be an event starting this weekend called Weekend Missions, where if you played game, like they were going to have special missions to earn rewards on top of your normal rewards for playing the new cards. So I think they're going to have some for Gwen, Spider, Gwen, whatever, Ghost Spider, and they were going to have them for Silk. And that broke. It didn't work. And so they are now... Well, let me just read the tweet. It says, "We're aware of an issue that prevented weekend missions from going live. As we tackle this issue, missions will not be available this weekend, but don't worry. We'll be sending 1,000 tokens to everyone who purchased Silk during her Spotlight week. Thank you for your patience." And then there was a follow-up in the Discord adding some additional compensation. And so, yeah, let's see here. In addition to the compensation listed above, we'll also be sending the following: 150 gold to season pass owners, 200 credits to everyone. We're sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you for your patience. It's laughable. I mean, I was kind of excited to get the extra stuff. It seemed kind of cool to get the missions for playing the new cards. Although it's kind of a bummer for people who can't afford to get the new cards or don't have the new cards, but it's cool. Like,
it's basically a rebate, right? I also sent an image of what it did show up for a few people. They said it was like literally 1% or something. Because I think I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think one of the things causing this issue is how if you bought Silk, she was still in your shop. Weirdly enough, there was like a bug with that.
Yeah, she's still in mine, which is so strange.
She's still in mine. That's not was a bug. It's present tense is a bug. Did anyone try buying it again?
I've heard. I don't think anyone's been bold enough to do it, but I think someone's done this.
No refunds,
like,
man. That's terrifying.
Past, and I'm pretty sure they just got another copy of the card. So do that at your own risk. We do not take responsibility.
With their very bold take on no refunds, I am absolutely terrified to press that button.
Can we talk about the mission rewards for a second, though? Like, I sent the little graphic, but like, God, so 1,000 tokens, right? That actually, I think, would have been pretty celebrated. But they also announced in like a separate post that the amount of tokens is going to vary per week.
What?
And I imagine that's going to be because they're doing cheaper cards, right? Like Silk was the pool 5. Now
no, they're gonna
when
be
they do
like
Spider Ham. They're gonna give like 100 tokens. Or
basically,
something?
yeah. Like I'd have to find the exact post, but the guy came out and he was like, "Our first weekend is going to be 1,000. Then the follow-up weekends, he said, it's going to be between I think like 300 and 500 or something." And
man, these guys are so stingy.
It's crazy. Like 1,000 would have actually been pretty celebrated. I think that would have been like seen as a fairly decent thing. That's a decent chunk of tokens off the card. It was more than I expected. And then they're like, no, we're gonna just like change it at whim. So like we're lucky if we're ever gonna see 1,000 again. But like tokens aside, the other currencies are like almost insultingly low. Like 20 matches for 200 credits. 200 credits is just under half of what you get for doing your daily.
I was gonna say that's how much
like,
I get for playing a 6-cost card in my deck, right?
And same with the gold, 150 gold. Like even if we add this up, let's say over the course of a month, right? Because these are weekend missions. So if you do them throughout the whole month, you get 800 credits, and you get 600 gold. Like not even enough to buy a cheap variant. And it's like, God, it's a little ridiculous how just stingy we are with these resources.
So you gotta have the card release of the week to get the big benefit. You have to have the battle pass to get the medium rare benefit.
Get richer.
Yeah, or you better write down the time, Nate. But basically, to me, what this is the TLDR is this. Cores, get out of my pay to win game.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like.
I mean, I hate to be so what's the word I'm looking for? Low brow about it. But like this feels so bad. This is like you get the cool thing only if you already have the money invested or the resources to get the cool thing. And so, for your son, for example, Nate,
Yeah, you
he'll
just
be able
miss
to
out
get
on it. Yeah. No.
yeah, and you know what they're gonna do, right? Like I assume because it didn't work, so we didn't get to see it, but they're gonna like shove it right in your face, right? And I bet that some people will end up buying the card that they wouldn't have otherwise because they'll rationalize it. Well, it's not 5,000 tokens or 6,000 tokens, it's 5. It's
Well,
not.
that's what they're trying to
Oh
do,
wait,
right?
let me key up
they
this
came
image
out-
again. Oh, sorry.
you
I
said that. That's exactly what they're trying to do, and like, it's just it's so ridiculous because it's not gonna work. Like, it's not. Yeah, it's not gonna work, and it's not gonna make a significant amount of people buy go for the card because of this. Especially when you're only offering like lower rates on it too in the coming weeks. The people are just gonna hoard because they don't feel like with these flexible series drops, it's hard to feel like uh any purchase is safe outside of big bads, and a lot of people just feel that way.
yeah, I will say that this game has made me like have to really save. Like you have to save all your resources and then decide very carefully what you want to get, because you can't get everything, or if you do, you just break the bank. Which I cannot
if
do.
you want everything, I mean, there are mobile games that are more expensive, but you're still going to be deep in the 5 figures if you want everything. And it's okay not to have everything. I don't mind the things that are on offer. I just wish that the things that they do offer would be, we've seen them kind of bump up against us. Every once in a while, they'll offer a bundle or an event that everyone can get behind, and then they always seem to walk it back. I would love to know where this comes from within the organization, because I can't imagine that this is, every company isn't a monolith, right? You're going to have different points of view, and you're going to have arguments. But you made a comment in a private chat, Zombies, that the person that kind of runs the game economy and the monetization hasn't been so active on social media anymore. But fear not, because you flashed the defend the multi-million-dollar company meme. There is an endless pantheon of people online who not only will rationalize this, but they'll defend it. And it's like, okay, maybe you don't care enough to get all animated about it like us, but to actively defend this, like, I mean, yeah,
It reminds me. It reminds me of the people that defend Elon Musk all the time. He'll do the craziest, weirdest thing, and they're like, have my babies. It's like it's so weird. It's so weird.
Yes, it is exactly that. There's no end of sycophantic, like 25 to 34-year-old like white males that will back any of this crap up. And like it is just it is exactly that. That was the perfect analogy. Thank you, Nate. I think we can end the show now. It's time to go home, guys. We're done.
The Defenders, it's a superhero team, right? Defenders of the the devs.
Yeah.
Oh god.
What about you, Lee? What do you think about all the economy stuff?
Oh, Lee's from Canada. Everything costs 3 times as much there.
It's expensive. It's really expensive, and I've been just been watching Zombies videos on the data mine bundles as well to see if there's anything that interests me. Thankfully, not too much does interest me, but if it did, these prices are just nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know. I don't know who's just sitting there and like, you know what? I think this be a great price, but like we'll offer so little. And I never understood this about companies in general. I understand people got to get paid. I get that. But I think if you make your player base happy, you're enticing them to spend more instead of being like, give me the big bucks now. Just why not offer so many more little bundles and you'll get a lot more people happy, and they'll probably spend more money if you had something like that.
Apparently, I have been very interested in mobile game monetization for some time now, and apparently that's not how it works, Lee. that would
Yeah.
be my inclination as well.
Mhm,
But basically, it makes more sense for them
mhm.
to blood the whales than to try and to butter the bread more evenly across the player
Right.
base. So like, they're probably expecting that people like you and I who, spend to a point will not buy the Darkhawk bundle, but like,
Mhm.
the Giga Whales that buy everything, they're the ones that are financing this, right? And they're going to keep doing this until I guess it stops paying them to do so, and that's the unfortunate truth of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just never understood. Like, you have one pocket full, but they want the other one full too. So.
Yep, that's the way it goes.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it seems. But I do think I've seen so many other, especially other creators, where people who've previously spent a lot of money on the game just kind of pulling back a bit and being like, why, just not really feeling as confident in supporting the game with some of the decisions that are being made.
Yep.
Like
Well,
I haven't bought the Scorpion bundle thing yet, and like it's good gold, and I like the variants, but I'm just
Mhm.
like I don't feel particularly good about just throwing money at the game right now. I'll probably cave on that other thing, the Fiona bundle with Carnage, and
I only did it because
trying to be more selective.
it's a good
Yeah.
gold value, and I thought, well, if I want to get one of the
Oh yeah, I
upcoming
mean, if you want
ones,
to get
like,
gold, it is one of the better things that you get because
Yeah.
it's like $50 worth of gold for $30, and you get the
Mhm.
two variants. So it's one of the better ones they've done. And now that Token Tuesdays are getting worse, you're gonna want
Yeah.
to be looking into the bundles a lot because that's what you're gonna want to be saving for. And I think Educated Collins said it in he did a video about all the bundles and the changes and stuff. He was like, their bundles were so bad and nobody was buying them. So instead of making the bundles better, they just nerfed Token Tuesday. And it's just like, oof, man, it's so
and
true.
then
It
people
hurts.
defend it. I know. Oh my god, just wait till we get to Galactus.
Oh
Oh
God.
yeah. Oh.
Well, let's move on then. I mean, I think that um they're going to compensate us for
Everybody gets
the
200 gold, yay!
yeah, but like they're not compensating everyone evenly. So everyone gets 200 credits, not even 200 gold.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. That's even worse.
150 gold to season pass owners and 1,000 credits to those who have silk. But I think we all bought silk. Ill advised, by the way, guys. If you're all there in chat or listening, thinking maybe I'll buy silk. Silk's cool, but probably not worth the buy.
It's
So buy it if you want
okay.
it, but
She's hella fun. She's very,
He's
very
very
fun.
fun. Yeah. It's probably one of the cards that I don't regret spending tokens on, and there hasn't been many.
yeah, the only
Yeah,
card I
it's
regret
very
buying
fun.
is Kang.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think everyone regrets Kang, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still,
Like a bad, a big bad.
it's not the next hit monkey. But it is a cool card. But I mean, I imagine if you buy it now, you're not going to get compensated anyhow, so it's probably too late for that. So again, the compensation scales with how much you've spent, and again, your little picture there on the stream, stop being poor. Well, that's really the lesson, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the solution. I mean, let's
Yeah, it's just pick yourself up by your bootstraps and may spend money on Marvel Snap. Um, all right, so we're getting to the meat of the conversation. I know that you guys have been chomping at the bit to get there. We're almost there. Nate, the patch. Tell us about the
yeah.
patch.
All right, so the patch, the big thing about the patch was the Conquest mode. We've all been waiting for, and it's actually pretty cool. Like,
Mhm.
it's very nice to be able to play in a casual mode where, or win or lose, like, well, I should say if you lose, there's virtually no stakes, right? Or very few. If you win, like you get little broad bucks that you can use in the token shop to get stuff, unlock a variant, and play casually, and it's cool. I mean, the meta's bad, but like it's a neat thing. It's really cool. It's a
And they
great.
didn't screw it over. They didn't do the compliment sandwich of making it like annoying to get tickets out of all
Hmm.
the nonsense that's happened recently. Conquest is like the one kind of like W without any downside.
Mhm.
Conquest is like, it seems like it is a really good addition for the game, and it's nice that you can just kind of grind and do it without having to pay any gold or any other entrance
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah, no, it's good. I wish that I knew more about the mechanics of it in terms of like, you
Well,
know,
we'll cover it after we have our big Galactus discussion, so we can maybe drill into it then.
Lee and I might be like crying and like ugly crying. So, but,
Well, then
we'll try. We'll try to pull ourselves together.
We'll have zombies carry that. But funny enough, like as animated as I am about Galactus, it's really the series drops that really kind of ticked me off.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And we kind of saw this coming with the whole fiasco with the last series drop as it related to flexible, what do they call it, flexible card releases, was that the term they
Flexible
used?
series drops.
Flexible series drops, yeah.
Isn't
Now,
it
you'll
interesting
notice-
how the
you'll-
good
you'll-
ones haven't dropped and the
Yeah.
bad ones did?
Here's something very telling though. You'll notice on screen, for those who are listening and not watching, I had to basically take a screenshot from their from the patch notes. They usually release a series drop graphic. They've done so every time this has happened. This is the first month where they did not release a graphic for series
Oh,
drops.
really? I
Yeah.
wonder
It's
why.
because they felt
And-
shame.
Yeah, because they know. Like, to me, this isn't like oh, we didn't realize that people were unhappy about this. They know exactly what makes us unhappy, yet they still are doing it. And yeah, so so what dropped? All right, so dropping from Series 5 to Series 4 is Snowguard, which is a quicker drop than it would have been traditionally, and Stegron, expected. So there's a couple of cards in there that are staying in Series 5 that are missing. Jeff the Baby Landshark and Hitmonkey.
I wonder why.
Interesting. Now, I
wonder
have a
if those cards
message.
are any good.
I mean, I have a message for those who are listening. If you are a big bad truther, defender, fanatic, and you've been saying, well, it's really good when cards stay in Series 5. Yeah. How do you feel about Jeff and Hitmonkey staying in Series 5? Are they big bads now?
Just Big Jeff.
Big Jeff, yeah. Anyways, dropping from Series 4 to 3 is Shanna. And of course, we talked about this at length, but I mean, Darkhawk was expected to drop to Series 3 last month, and that was the first fiasco with the series drops, with Darkhawk being skipped. So yeah, series drops really, really brutal. And zombies, again, I'm going to read your thoughts on the matter that you tweeted, because I can't hope to match your eloquence, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Flexible series drops are a poison to the game. The blatant embrace of greedy pay-to-win elements is second to only the Nexus event gacha system that almost sunk Snap before it left beta. I hope you like paying more for good meta cards, because that's what Second Dinner thinks is okay. And I'm willing to bet Jeff is such a ubiquitous 2-drop, it's going to stay in Series 5. Hitmonkey might drop if bounce starts to like fall off a little bit, but Jeff is seen in so many different decks that I think it's going to stay in Series 5 for another month.
It very well could. I mean, we really are at their mercy of whenever they decide, like, oh, hey, we've sold enough expensive Jeffs, we can put them on sale. That's basically what the system feels like it is now. It's entirely arbitrary, and we see the way they like to slant it, where they know which cards are more popular and sought after and good. They're like, all right, well, we've decided you can pay more for those. And I've seen people defend it with like, oh, but in like other card games, all the good cards are legendary, right? So, but it's not even like remotely comparable. Like all legendary cards are the same cost, right? You don't have this arbitrary, this one good card costs like 3 times or 6 times the amount. It's just like not remotely comparable.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've said it pretty eloquently. It's just there's no shame. That's the funny thing to me. It's like part of me is upset and part of me is amused at how they're like, yeah, the good cards they don't drop and pay us money and it's like something is like expensive and people complain about it, then they're like, oh yeah, ha ha ha, and then next time it's even more expensive. And then people come out like full swing defending them, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just it's totally different. I think the big issue is the hook that got a lot of people into the game in beta and at launch is, yeah, you might not get every new card as it's coming out, but things are on a schedule, so you could kind of offset that with the fact that, hey, I'll be getting a set amount of cards every month as they rotate down, and a lot of people really just didn't mind waiting. Like, yeah, if they really, really wanted it, maybe they went for one of the cards, but a lot of people waited. And I think that was against their business model. I think they got more people who are like, cool, I'll just wait for. I mean, that's what all the comments seem to indicate, right? Like, so many
Mhm.
people are like, yeah, I'll play this in like 6 months when it rotates down. That was a lot of the player base. And I think those are the people who are getting the most screwed right now because all the cards they're waiting for are either really bad or if somebody got unlucky, maybe they opened Shauna as one of their Series 4 cards instead of Darkhawk or Zabu, and then when she rotates down, they get nothing. So I think you're getting even more feel bads for those type of players, and it's just a pretty terrible experience all around.
Again, how do new players get into the game? It
Well, you use the most OP card in the game, the credit card, and you hope there's a high limit.
I mean it is such a shame because
Yeah.
you know, for all the complaining we're doing, the game is still, even though the meta is bad, we'll get to that in a second, I promise. I feel like we've been like chomping at the bit to get there. The game's still fun, but like
Yeah.
The
for
game
you
is
to be able
great.
to have that fun, it's like, you know what it's like? It's like, you know when you have a steak and like there's all this like gristle and like sinew that you've got to cut around to get to the good part of the steak because it's like a cheap cut. That's snap, right? When you finally get to like the tenderloin, it's good, but so much fat you've got to cut through. Like
Mhm.
you can just go to another restaurant or another butcher shop and get a properly cut steak that doesn't have all that gristle around it, as good as it might taste once you get through it, right?
Yeah.
Or for the vegans in chat, it's like an artichoke. You got to get to the heart by going through all the palms. Um, I just don't understand. And I mean, you've noted, zombies, that there has been a marked decline, at least in the engaged player base, for those
Oh,
who
for
are
sure.
interacting with the game. Even here, we're not a big show, and it's not our ambition to be one. We just do this for the love of it. But I've noticed trend lines consistent with what you shared in terms of, you know, people who watch the VODs, the YouTube videos, etc. And it's a shame because it is pushing people away.
Yeah.
And I I would like to see that not happen.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely concerning, and you can see it kind of across the board. Like I did some digging and looking at numbers and whatnot, and even a lot of the folks I consider some of the biggest people in Snap, you can see a pretty significant downward trend in terms of viewership in the past maybe like 3 or 4 months. Definitely a bit more recent, but it's also been kind of gradual now. The game started off really strong, so you're always going to have some like natural decline. But I think the tricky part, and I've seen some other people talk about this, Regis was one of them. He actually put a great video out today talking about some of the economy issues and whatnot. Should definitely recommend because he's a pretty like kind of level-headed guy. He doesn't complain a lot, but even he's like, this is a little ridiculous, the kind of stuff they're doing. But he had a great point with Snap's release system. It's cool for like the most engaged of the most engaged people, uh, with the card a week and whatnot. But a lot of players aren't experiencing a card a week because it's too expensive to keep up with, right? By design, unless you're paying a whole lot of money. Um, so most people aren't even getting that card a week. But I think the big thing is if you leave Snap and you come back, it's really hard to catch up at all, and you don't really have as much of a compelling reason to come back for just one new card release. And something with like a traditional card game like Hearthstone, people take a break or they quit the game, and then they have a new card set come out, and it totally adds a bunch of new elements to the game, and people come back. And Snap feels like it's kind of lacking that, and maybe they thought their game modes would do that. But as much as I enjoy Conquest, it doesn't strike me as the type of thing that because it's added, you're going to have someone who previously stopped playing the game want to come back to play the game more. And I think they need more of a draw like that, because these weekly card releases are cool and all, but it's not enough to really, when someone falls out of favor with the game, to bring them back. There's just that moment doesn't really feel like it exists in Snap right now, and that's not a good thing, because I think card games are kind of known for, like, how many times do you know someone who's like quit a card game and then they're back for the next expansion or the one after that. It brings people back to the game, whereas like Snap, and now with the flexible series drops, it's even worse, because before, if you quit in December and you were pool 3 complete, you come back, oh, you're getting Shuri, you're getting Black Panther, you're getting all these other cards that drop down. But now, if you quit, who knows? Maybe Darkhawk's not even dropped by the time you come back in 2 or 3 months. Like, we don't know.
Jeff certainly
so-
won't be, because he's a big Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just really it's really not good, and I think it's going to cause, like, I don't understand, and I think it's their advertising thing at the GD the game show, not Game Awards,
Game
whatever,
Developer
Summer Game
Conference.
Fest, the recent thing where they like, oh hey, we're Marvel Snap, we're having this new thing come out Monday. It was kind of like the perfect analogy, but it feels like they don't know who their game is for, who they're like selling it to. Like it feels like they make all these decisions like for very different groups of players, and it's like, who is this really for? Because they went up on stage and were like, hey, we have this new Conquest Mode, and they showed a few screen grabs of like the rewards and stuff, but like, that shouldn't that have been an opportunity to like try and get new people interested in the game? If someone didn't know what Marvel Snap was, like, it didn't tell them anything about the game. I just thought that was like the perfect analogy, their little like 2-minute ad thing there, because that's what it feels like playing the game. It's like, because as a player who has most of the cards, like I have all the cards except the really trash ones that I didn't want to buy, it doesn't feel like they're doing much to actually like make me want to buy stuff. Like, I don't want to increase my collection level because nothing's really useful there, for the most part. I mean, I'll open the boxes when Series 4 cards rotate down, but I'm not trying to advance my collection level anymore because I'm not going to pull a Series 5 card, right? And it's just like I think they're going to see, and this kind of happened in beta when people hit the max amount of cards, a full collection. People just have like way less reason to spend money on the game, and I think that's going to be a very big problem for them. Because if they're not getting their money from the most engaged portion of like the spenders, like, then who are they? Are they making enough of that off of like the Dolphins or the lower spenders? I don't know.
I mean, a lot of this seems like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what they're hoping will stick.
Yeah.
I think that what you are seeing here is a relatively immature organization that can't decide if they want to be the next Hearthstone or the next Clash of Clans or whatever
Yeah.
the big free play game is. They kind of want to be both. And I think that, if they want to be like the company that makes Clash of Clans or Candy Crush, that's cool. But you're gonna have to pick a lane, and
Yeah.
you're gonna end up alienating a particular segment of the audience, no matter what. So I think that at a certain point, they're gonna have to decide what makes the most sense for them and for the longevity of the game. And you said it before, Zombies, but because of the IP and how bad the other Marvel games are that still do well on mobile, They probably can continue to kind of flop around and still skate by. It's just unfortunate because you see the potential going to waste. It's like Battlegrounds, right? They invented that game by accident. It was a success by accident. And it almost feels like, in a way, that's true for Snap also, right? They made a really fun game when it seems like their goal, in part, was to make a mobile game cash cow.
Yeah, it's like I feel like the game and the monetization systems just work against each other all the time. And it's annoying because everyone really likes the game, but when like you're saying for like 6 months, hey, we hear you, the acquisition's going to get better, and then every time it gets better, it's not actually really getting that much better. It's like people get kind of fed up with it, and it just feels so clear that they didn't, like, since they were breaking the mold with how they were doing card acquisition and all this stuff, they just didn't, they weren't sure about what the best way to like monetize it where it could sustain itself long term. And I think this is what they're trying out, but I don't know. I just don't see it really working out in the long term because I think they are burning people out from the system.
So yeah, very encouraging stuff.
Yeah.
Are you all hyped in chat for Marvel Snap? I know I am. And I'll tell you why I'm hyped. Oh, sorry, Nate, you were going to say something.
No, it's just some desperation. It's fine. Carry on.
All right. Well, I'm hyped for the last OTA update on June 8th. So this is a twice monthly show. We last had our show on Sunday the 4th. So that was no, Sunday the 4th. Was it the 4th? No, it wasn't. I can't even recall. Yeah, it was. That would have been 2 weeks.
Yes, that's correct.
We had to reschedule it because I'm a terrible person. And on the 8th, they released one of their OTA balance updates. So really quickly, they buffed Rogue, gave it +1 power. Some people are playing Rogue as an Evo tech. Now it's a little bit better. Cool. Medusa, she gains +3 power now instead of +2 when you play her in the center lane. Some people put it in bounce. Guys, if you're bounce gamers, don't play Medusa. Very easy. They nerfed Spider-Man. It went from being a 4/3 to a 5/4. This was an attempt to tone down the high Evo lane lockdown deck, which, by the way, is still the best deck in the game, and Spider-Man is still playable at 5/4. Beast went from being a 2/2 to a 3/4. This was to tone down the bounce deck a little bit, and it did. Beast is still good as a 3/4, but makes it a little bit, takes a little bit of the discount off of Kitty Pride. And Hood went from being a 1-2 to 1-3, which is such a slight nudge. It almost doesn't even feel of much consequence.
I don't get that one at all. I don't understand what Hood was doing where they wanted this. I mean, it's going to be a little more amusing whenever you pass it over with Viper, but most of the time you have ways to mitigate the downside of Hood. So it's like this feels just kind of. I feel like they were just looking for something. We're like, all right, I guess we'll do Hood.
I mean, the thing is this: none of this makes bounce like worse or better. I'm sure Beast makes it a little worse, but
yeah, it's like a little worse, but it's still going to be really good. I like the Beast change because now he feels a bit different than Falcon, which is cool. Because Beast always just felt like a better Falcon, and
yeah,
I like that there's more stats for the cost. So that was like what that and the Spider-Man change was fine too, at like slowing down high Evo a bit, although it's still really, really good. I really hate how they've been doing the buffs though, because the buffs they do are usually pretty inconsequential. I don't mind the Medusa one because it's like an early card and like people have experimented with it a bit, so that's fine. But God, the Rogue one feels so just like I don't know. They keep buffing these cards that it feels like they're not really trying to push them up that high, with the exception of like Enchantress, who they like turned back down. I wish they took more risks like that, where they did like a bigger buff on a card. And then if it proved to be a bit too much, like with Enchantress, they can just tweak it somewhere in the middle. Because I feel like most of the buffs have just been so unimpactful and kind of boring compared to the nerfs.
Yeah. There's not really much to say about this. Because bluntly, the meta is being shaped by the balance patch that was released last week on the 13th that we've been waiting to talk about. So let's just move on to that. So there were 3 changes in that balance patch. 2 buffs of marginal consequence. Maria Hill got buffed to add a 1 or 2 cost random card to your hand instead of a 1 cost. Okay. And Dazzler was reworked. So Dazzler went from being a 4/4 ongoing, if you have basically every lane full, she gets +6 power. She went from being a 3/2 to getting +2 power for each location that's filled. Now, this is an interesting change, but if you're thinking, Dazzler costs 3 and can play her in Surfer because Brood fills up a lane and that's really good. Well, here's the problem, right? In order to make Dazzler a 3/4, you have to have 1 lane filled. To make her a 3/6, you need to have 2 lanes filled. That's a bit of a tall order.
Yeah.
Maximus is a 3/7 just for playing Maximus. You still play Maximus over Dazzler. Of course, you could argue, well, why not both? I think they're just better cards to play. It's cute, and I like the idea of the change, but I don't think it quite gets it to...
should have been a 3/3 at the least. I don't understand why they were so conservative with it when it's so hard to hit the restriction. And the one place I have seen a few people have success in Patriot with Ultron.
Yeah,
so that's
Ultron.
kind of cool because Patriot, it doesn't mind having like another thing to do if you don't draw your Patriot on 3 or something. So that's I like it better than old Dazzler, but I do wish they made it like at least a 3/3, given how tricky it is to fully fill your board, and like all you're getting for that very difficult thing to do is 3/6. It's a little underwhelming.
All right, underwhelming is right, and even with Patriot and Ultron, like I mean that I guess you can hit it with Iron Lad, but it feels like a wasted slot. All right, finally the change that we've been waiting all month for. Brought to you by the whiners of both Twitter and Reddit combined. Lee, Nate, why don't as
Let Lee have it.
As the Galactus devotees, tell me how they changed Galactus.
Well, they took it out back with a bat and killed it.
Yeah, you remember that
That's what
scene
they did to
from the the Office movie, whatever it was called, where they took the printer out back and
Office Space,
where they took the old printer fax machine out and beat it with the baseball bat. That's what they did with Galactus.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what did they actually do to Galactus game mechanic wise?
All right. So the text previously, Galactus was a 6/2, and it said if this is the only card in this lane, destroy the other lanes, right? Or destroy. I'll just blow it up and read it. That's essentially what it did. But okay, here we go. It had on reveal. If this is your only card here, destroy the other locations.
As a 6/2.
As a 6/2, correct. Now it is a 6/7 with on reveal. If you are winning this location and this is your only card here, destroy all other locations.
Oh, so it went from being a 6/2 to a 6/7. That's a buff.
Yeah, they buffed it. The number's green, so the card got better. That's how it works.
I can't believe them. Galactus was already an oppressive, overpowered archetype, and they buffed it.
So you have to be winning. Like, so you have to have no cards in the lane.
Right.
And
law.
And then, which was always the thing, right? But now if you play it and your opponent has more stats there than you, it just doesn't trigger.
Or tied. Yeah. You have to be winning. I tested it out a lot. If you're tied, no Galactus for you.
This is pure trash. Like,
it's really bad.
It's absolute 100% garbage. I can't even, like, I know there's a bunch of people saying that it got buffed. There's a bunch of people just trying to make it work. It's garbage. It's total garbage.
Really, it's a lot worse.
This is not a buff. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they've actually just butchered it, and that's That's all there is.
It got
to
the it got the leader treatment, like no joke.
Yeah, it is
Big
leader
like
V2.
Except it's
like,
worse
so
because
bad.
this is a tier 5 6K tokens that you are not getting back because there's no refunds.
Mm-hmm.
So just too bad.
Yeah, I think people are starting to get frustrated with the way changes have been going more recently. They were good with the OTAs and stuff for a while, but like I think they definitely Galactus was always going to be a hard one to like adjust at all, but man, it feels
Oh,
really bad having taken it out for a spin after the change. It was like, oh god, the deck feels just
can
Now,
garbage.
I
I'm
tell
willing
you
to
though,
bet.
like my kid, you know, we talk about him a lot, but he's like free to play and he's been saving up, right? Because he watched me play this deck a lot and I really enjoyed it, and I hit infinite with it, and he was trying to build this deck and missing a bunch of the cards, right? And so every once in a while, like he saved and saved and saved for Galactus. It took forever and he finally got it, right? Like last month.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had Null in the shop, and like it's still pinned. He's got 2,700 tokens. We need 300 more tokens to get Null. And then he's only missing, he needs one more ramp card. That's it. And he's got the full deck. Like he got Death from a collector's cat. No, Death was offered as one of his free pool 3 cards. Like we were just waiting for like a good one to come, and Death showed up, so we got it.
Right.
And now the deck's like unplayable, and it's like, cool, we've been trying to build this for like 4 months for like nothing now. Like I'm so mad.
Mhm.
It's just it's
Yeah.
like it's really frustrating, and like we're having a lot of fun with other decks, primarily playing like kind of our homebrew like lane control thing that's he's having a good time with, but like it just destroyed it. And it's like if they were going to do this to a series 5 card that's never going to get, you know, reduced, and there's no refunds, and now we've got a bunch of cards that you can't really play in other decks, and like it's like it was just really disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was frustrated because like I enjoy the deck, but I was more frustrated because it's like, hey, you're messing with my kid's collection. I'm like,
And
There
I'm sure
are-
there are a lot of people in that boat. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it goes back to like the newer player thing where it's like for some of these decks, and Galactus was always a more expensive deck in terms of the cards you needed for it. But some of these decks get like, I was just looking at it the other day, even playing like the Darkhawk deck. It was like, oh, you got Darkhawk, you got Jeff, it's just like, wow, looking at, and I felt this way the last time I looked at like the meta tier list stuff. It's really kind of crazy how much less free to play friendly the game has gotten in terms of there's just like series 4 and above cards in like the vast majority of decks.
and then
And
you see
it's
all the
worse now.
supporters that come in the comments. It's still playable. It's still oppressive. I've still lost to it 30 times today.
Oh yeah, it's so
It's like, shut up.
I
It's
predicted.
really not. I mean,
It's-
I spent the better part of the week trying all kinds of things to make it work, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't.
It's sort of like you can play it with Hobgoblin and Green Goblin and Shuri and Nimrod, but it's like it's just bad. It's just
Don't forget
it's-
Iron Fist.
Oh god, if you really want to do the Omega, like
Yeah, I
The
tried
Omega-
that. It
the
didn't go
Omega
very
coat.
well.
I mean,
So
I-
Galactus went from a 10% play rate and about a 52 or 53% win rate to a 3% play rate and a 49%
Sheesh.
win rate. So it's dead. Here's the thing, right? There's probably some people listening, or you know, we know they're out there that are like, I hate Galactus. I'm glad it's dead. And I really feel that this is a little bit of a monkey's paw like wish, right? I wish Galactus to be dead. Okay, Galactus is dead. You got your wish. So what's happened? Well, what's happened is the only deck that was really keeping High Evo in check is gone. So now we've got Lockjaw, which runs High Evo, regular High Evo, which is basically the full package with a couple support cards, and Lane Lock Evo Control as the 3 best decks in the game, all sporting near 60% win rates with a combined play rate of a little less than 40% of ladder. So if you were all upset that Galactus was 10% of your games, I hope you enjoy playing against Evo every second game now. And we'll talk a little about this in Conquest a little bit more. I can't play anything now that's weakened to wave. And it's really created this polarized dynamic. And I suspect they're not going to be able to change Evo the way that they would need to with OTA updates. So basically, we're
Well, it
kind of
depends how they do it. I think they might be able to, because I think the biggest outlier for Evo is the Hulk, and I think if you weaken that, like it
so what
take.
they'll give it +1 instead of +2.
I think it's the only way you really can. Like that.
Okay, they could
That
do that by
I was
OTA.
against that initially, but
That would
after having
probably
it
fix
around
it.
for a while, like I think you'd still get like a big Hulk. You're still getting payoff for your other cards, but it wouldn't be like you're getting this 18 to 20 power thing every game because it feels like
Right.
it's every game, right? And so what it cuts it from going up 8 to going up 4, so it's 16. It's like bigger than Giganto. It's still 16 is still huge, but it feels less bad 15 at 15 or 16, like 18 or 20 or sometimes even like 22.
Yep.
So I think that's one way. I think they, because like it's either that or they go after something like Cyclops because he's like the other best one. I think it's him, Cyclops, and Wasp. I think you could start with Hulk and see how that impacts the archetype and then go from there as needed.
Still, Galactus not there to farm those decks, kind of hurts.
And you mentioned Conquest, yeah. So I played a lot of Conquest the first day or two, and I haven't played as much since. And part of the reason for that is because outside of doing the lowest tier, where I think the lowest tier is quite fun because a lot of times people just snap on one, and whoever wins
Mhm.
that, like 8 cuber, just gets the medal. So that's kind of fun. But when like in the higher up tiers of Conquest. Uh, Almost exclusively, I see like 60 or 70% lockjaw high evo, and it's just like reminds me of when Thanos was the Thanos lockjaw was like the best because it's just like every game. And the bad thing about it is, like you mentioned with Wave, the decks that can normally capitalize off of like Shang-Chi or reactive stuff like Sarah, or trying out power with like bounce, kitty stuff, those decks are so soft to wave that they just like they don't, it feels like they barely exist in Conquest, and I almost never see them outside of the proving ground because it's so different to ladder when you're playing a deck like that. And because now you're not seeing, wave decks a percentage of your games. Every game is against a wave deck, and yeah, maybe they're not going to draw it every single game, but they just need to draw it a few times, and it just like totally solos your deck. So it makes decks like that a lot worse. So whereas Sarah's really good on like ladder, she's felt a lot worse in Conquest. And those are the decks you need to answer the high Evo stuff because nothing can outpower this giant Hulk, right? Like the only way to do it is you make it so they can't play cards, or you like blow up their big stuff. And it's really hard to be reactive right now in Conquest because of wave.
Yeah, the Lambie and KM have been trying to like come up with bounce decks that aren't soft into wave or as soft
Mhm.
into wave. I was experimenting with those today, and the thing is that it's really easy to play wave on 5. You just play wave
Yeah.
and hit end turn. Trying to like put yourself in a pretzel to try and like get around that, I don't know if it's worth the effort. I mean, I'm happy that there's innovation going on, but going back to Galactus, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was how this felt like it was a decision made by popular acclaim over the internet, right? We've memed on that before in other games like Hearthstone or other changes that they've made, but this one really felt like it was due to that noise because again, Galactus did have a fairly high play rate. There's no denying that, but its win and cube rate were not beyond this oppressive realm that would make you take notice otherwise. And isn't it the goal to have people enjoy playing balanced cards? I know a lot of people say it's not balanced. maybe that's a good reason for nerfing it because of the polarizing play experience. But do you guys feel that as well? Like, I'm not basing this on anything other than what I've observed, but this really seems to me like it was a decision that they felt pressured into making because of the noise.
Oh, I think it's also that's definitely part of it, but I think it's also I wonder if they're able to see. I've always wondered this about like any card game, if you can see which are the decks or which are the moments in your game where most people are closing the app, like where it's like, okay, I'm not just like done with the game or done with the match. I'm done with the game for now. And so, like, I do think Galactus was a pretty polarizing thing. So I wasn't against him getting like slightly nerfed or changed somehow. I just think the way they did it is really terrible. Um, because I think there is a lower threshold for because we weren't seeing it quite as much at our level, but man, like some of the lower ranks, like people really loved the card, right? And that's why they even said they were like kind of scared to change it fully because they still want people to enjoy it. But I'm just like, and I'm sure some people are, but it's really fun when it goes off. But the deck just feels so much worse to play. It's like you're really scraping to get by with it now. And they said, oh well, we now that we change it this way, we have more knobs we can tune. So if it's too bad, we can try and make it better. But all they're basically saying there is, well, if it's too hard to get the condition off, maybe we'll make his power bigger. But that I don't think that fixes the issue of like why the card just doesn't feel enjoyable to play at all. And the people who really hated it, like, yeah, you're gonna see less of it, but they still hate it just as much. So it's like you didn't even make those people fully happy, right? Like seeing people unironically say that the change was a buff blows my mind because like they're letting the hatred to the card blind them to the reality of it's like pretty bad now.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that again, the internet is not a game designer, yet it feels like they're influencing game design decisions as this amorphous entity.
I don't know. And they say that it's not that the change was not based off of people complaining, but like I don't really believe that very much.
I don't know. There was I mean, like you even mentioned that you played Galactus, and the amount of toxicity towards you for playing that card was like League of Legends leveled of toxicity.
Oh, dude, I had to mute every single game. Like, and it just people were like, and it's like the deck was so easy to disrupt, and then they spam the emotes a bazillion times when they disrupt you. It's like, oh, good job, wow, okay, like, shut up, nerd. I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
People just really didn't like it, and so the thing now is that like we've all spent the 6,000 tokens on it.
Yeah,
and it's like. Wow. I somewhat feel that way about Thanos too, which is basically unplayable right now as well. Perhaps maybe it wouldn't be so bad if you waited to get it from a Series 3 cache. But I mean, this is the big bad, right? This was supposed to be like the safe investment. Do you foresee people buying Galactus now for 6,000?
absolutely not.
No.
So let me ask you guys this.
No,
Do you think that they're gonna, like, in about a month or two, say, we've decided that the time for big bads to stay permanent Series 5 is over. We're gonna be selectively dropping them down as part of our flexible series drop
No,
schedule.
they're not gonna do that
I
because it
bet you
doesn't
they're gonna
benefit them to drop them, right? Like they
Why?
they
If no
want
one's buying it,
those.
maybe someone will buy it for 3, but not 6.
Well, people are gonna, at least for Thanos. Thanos is gonna come back when they nerf High Evo. That's my prediction. Thanos, like he's had his moments in the sun and like where he's just been like skirting under the radar, and it feels like now's one of those times. Like the High Evo decks make things difficult for him. I still play my lane lock Thanos every now and again. It feels kind of fine. Like, I mean, the High Evo deck's probably better, but it feels like it can compete still. But I do think Thanos is like a lot weaker, and like pretty much aside from High Evo, it feels like there's not as much value in the big bads as there once was, because they used to be like, oh, you could get a whole new archetype and like that's playable and good, and now it's like Galactus, it's not a thing anymore, and even Thanos, it's a bit questionable right now. So I don't know. I feel like that's I feel like the whole point of them doing this big bad thing is because they wanted to have these big chase cards for people to go after. And if they're not really good, are they still gonna have like newer players buying them? I don't know.
I don't know. The card just seems so bad
Because they
now.
still want to sell these cards, right? Like I think that's one of the reasons, especially with a card that will always be Series 5, it's in their interest to make the card good and desirable because that's like the most profit they're making off of a
Yes,
card.
you would think that, and
But it
then
doesn't feel
this.
that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for Haiva, who they're pushing you to buy him, and he's going to get nerfed sometime in the next 3 weeks.
God,
Sooner, maybe than later. We'll see. There's no way that card doesn't get end up getting hit, and hopefully that can change things up a little bit. But I think we're in like kind of a weird position because I think if it gets hit, it'll still be really good. It'll open up the playing field a little bit where people can explore other decks a little bit more, but it's still going to be the same core situation of like the kitty decks, the wave decks, and I don't know how you really change that a whole lot. It feels like the direction we've kind of dove into is like the format kind of revolves around wave.
Wave and Kitty Pride. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've painted themselves in a corner. Wave feels really, really like the cornerstone of everything. It felt like Wave, Kitty, and Galactus were like the three legs of the table, and now it's just Wave and Kitty. And it's a lot more narrower of a gaming experience. And if they hit high Evo, Wave will just find its way into other decks, like the
And
way
Hawk, people are sleeping on Hawk. Hawk is still good. I barely see anybody play Darkhawk, and it's kind of decent against the Lockjaw deck sometimes because you put junk in their deck, and I don't think it's like gonna break the meta or anything. But I do think it's, what Hawk reminds me of. Hawk reminds me of how Dino used to be, where it was like always kind of good, but people just stopped playing it. I feel like that's kind of where Hawk is at. Like Hawk is still a really good deck, but people don't play it very much. Like in spite of all the justified complaining about it not dropping, like I feel like all the people who did have the card just barely even play it anymore.
Yeah. No, Hawk. Problem with Hawk is, well, it tends to go in decks that are soft to wave.
I think you can get through wave with the Hawk decks personally.
I mean, if Hulk isn't a 22, perhaps, so maybe you'll start seeing a little. I mean, I was gonna say maybe you'll start seeing more of it when Hulk gets tuned, but Black Bolt stature deck is still performing
That's still good
very
too.
well.
I think that is just like Darkhawk, where it's like it's a deck that's good that just people don't play.
Yeah, I played it a little. I don't know. It didn't feel good getting waved, but I mean, I feel like I've been seeing it more than the average bear because I've been playing Conquest mostly. But we'll see what happens. I just think that again, changing Galactus without changing these other things that would obviously be so affected by it just makes a worse play experience for everyone. So it's like, sure, if those who enjoyed Galactus, obviously like you, Nate and Lee, you're disappointed. But I was never especially a big Galactus fan. I mean, I played the card on occasion, but I wasn't as devoted as you.
You like the Thanos,
Turned
the
me
combo,
into a
like
Galactus fan. Honestly, I was determined to try and make it work out of spite, and it just did not.
But the
go
point,
well.
the point I'm trying to make though is that I like Thanos Galactus. Like I was neutral on it, whatever. But the thing is that I'm not playing Galactus decks, but because of the change, it's still negatively affecting me because of the overall shape it's taken on the meta. I mean, right now, the three best decks, like I said this before, I'll say it again, Lockjaw, High Evo Generic, and High Evo Control, collectively making 40% of the ladder. It's so bad. Nobody can like that. Someone in chat right now tell me you like queuing into High Evo over and over and over again. No one's going to say that they do. Anyways,
it's getting old, and
Getting very old.
I'm seeing now the same three decks, all the time, and same in Conquest. All I'm seeing is the stupid Thor deck or Kitty decks, and or Sarah Monkey. It's like, all right.
Well, even play Sarah Monkey anymore. The only kitty deck that people are trying to innovate through this Wave Crush is Bounce. I had to stop playing Sarah Control because it's just
You just played ladder if you want to play Sarah Control. That's basically what I did. Like when I was going to play Galactus was utterly terrible. So I was like, you know what? I'll just not play Conquest for now because
but I need my
it's so bad.
medals.
I know. I grinded the low tier enough to get all the current stuff. Now I'm just waiting for the next week's unlocks. I played a bunch on the first 2 days. I grinded mostly the low tier too, but I really love Conquest as a format. The big question mark to me is how much do other people love it? Because I wonder if it is something people have long-term interest in because of the rewards, or if I've seen a lot of people who are like, well, I don't like it because it takes too long, and what I like about Snap is how short the game is. So I'm curious to see. I know how like the more engaged players are happy with it, but I wonder how the larger player base, if a lot of people do consistently play Conquest or not in the long term.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I it's tough. The whole change, the whole situation feels disappointing. But they did it, and here we are. So yeah, Galactus Nerf and the meta, wonderful. So
yeah, I mean, I feel a little somber.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me too was that was the one card in the game that I really enjoyed. Not to say that I don't enjoy other play styles, but if we're talking about like pure joy out of the game, that's the card that did it for me. And so not being able to play it, and after spending so much on variants for it because I wanted each and every one because I love the card that much, kind of feels bad, right? So
yeah, I mean, not only like you get the card, right, and then you get all the different variants for it, and then you like level them all up so you get the cool effects on them, and now it's just unplayable. It's like, oh, cool. I wish that I could have all of that back so that I could use it on something else, or I just wish they wouldn't have hit my card so hard. But
I got baby Galactus like 2 days before they nerfed him.
Of course, that's how it works. I mean, I don't know. I'm still irritated about this and then you had told me, right? Hey, this is coming. Get your reps in. And so like the day before, I was playing a whole bunch of it, and people were like countering me left and right to the point of like, I can't play this. Every single deck is like people are emoting and like playing around it, like because they knew people were trying to get the reps in before it got nerfed, and it was like, this is so stupid. It's like, I don't know. I feel like the deck was fairly easy to disrupt, but
I had said that too in a comment on one of Zombies videos, and I just got like,
oh snap
for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So like the hate is incredibly real for this card, but I mean, if you're that angry at a card, maybe you should start looking at other games.
Yeah, it's obviously a very controversial card, but I don't think I think they basically did what I thought they were gonna do, which is they succeeded in making nobody super happy.
You know what I think?
People hate the card are still going to hate losing to the card.
No refunds, baby.
The card are going to have a lot harder time enjoying the card now. So it kind of feels like a loss for everybody. And not only that, but like Blue said, even if you weren't playing Galactus, or you didn't care about running into it, your experience is going to be a lot more highly evolved now because there's no Galactus around. And I don't think it's funny because I think they knew this was going to happen, right? Like they even in the balance patch update, they specifically said we're keeping an eye on high Evo and blah, blah, blah. Like they know it's an outlier, and there's like no doubt in my mind they're going to hit it. They basically all but said that when they made that comment, and it's like, but I don't know.
It's just be careful what you ask for, because there's always going to be the most hated deck, and there's an ecosystem that keeps the other decks in check, and when you remove one, everything is out of whack, and that's where we're living right now.
Fully appreciate the consequences of that.
Wait, there are consequences for our actions? What?
I still can't. Well, I guess I can. I still find it just so ridiculous how now it's become more of an expectation than a anomaly when they're trying to like release a new card or a new feature and something just breaks, and it's like, God, it's happening all the time now.
Yeah.
So they're gonna nerf High Evo, which just so happens to be another big bad.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that what
they're
I'm hearing?
Definitely going to.
They have to.
What's the only one they have?
No, I'm being facetious. Like here we go again, right?
Yeah.
Like, cool. Well, I just get out my tokens and spend them on a card that's never gonna be reduced to tier level, and then get nerfed, and then we don't get any refunds for it. Like, it's just this like a cycle now.
Yeah, that's certainly what it
It
feels.
would be
like.
nice if they offered some kind of compensation for things that are getting like obliterated, just kind of how like Hearthstone gives you
They'd give us 50 gold.
yeah, imagine.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah,
Just at least something to kind of lessen
and
the
they
blow.
take that away from like your season pass or something.
Yeah.
They'd snag it from
You
another
end-
part of the game.
You end up owing them.
Yeah, it's just, oh man,
Yeah.
it's such a shame that such a enjoyable card game is put behind such a terrible system that hasn't really gotten much better. And I mean, I think the game has improved, but they're rapidly running into a place where kind of a toxic meta right now, and hopefully they're going to be able to adjust that via OTA, and that way we won't end up in another Shuri situation of the high Evo numbers ballooning up over the next like 2 or 3 weeks as they become the most dominant decks in the game, and then we do the song and dance again. So hopefully we don't have to wait as long as before, because it got really bad with Shuri.
True.
Yep.
So Conquest, yeah.
Sorry, it's kind of a downer episode.
No, I know, but I just want you all to have your space to talk about Galactus, because this was a favorite, right? This was a favorite of the show. I mean, not my favorite, but your favorites. And
I'm very salty about this, and I'm coping barely, but I'm pretty unhappy about it for sure. And I mean,
right.
Anyways, Conquest is cool.
Yeah.
So Conquest is interesting. So I learned something about Conquest that I wasn't really aware of. So it seems as though. So let's just really quickly talk about Conquest. So you basically queue up games in different brackets, and if you win that bracket, you get a ticket and go on to the next one. So the first bracket, called Proving Ground, which is free to enter, and still gives rewards. Apparently it is not. Apparently matchmaking in the Proving Grounds is MMR based, whereas in the other brackets, Silver, Gold, and Infinite, it's not.
Yeah, it's weird because I've recognized a lot of names and whatnot. So there's definitely some matchmaking stuff going on there.
Yeah, so I think that's okay. My hope with that is that the newer players, right, who are lower card collection and MMR, if they end up engaging with Conquest, it will likely be in the Proving Grounds. Maybe this means they will have a marginally better experience and will be more willing to give the game mode a shot. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah. Conquest, I think it's just there are two main types of players. It's going to appeal to the people who like grinding out and like the longer competitive style matches. And there's going to be a very large section of players that it doesn't appeal to at all, because it's basically people don't always like facing the same deck over and over and over again. That's why people get annoyed about bad metas. Like, even if the meta is good here, you're facing the same deck for a bunch of different rounds, and some people just don't like that gameplay. So I think it's going to be a very hit or miss thing. It remains to be seen how big of a hit it is. I know, like, all the other streamers have been playing a lot of it. I've been playing a lot of it, but I think it's just because we're looking for something to do outside of ladder. This is, giving us something to do. We get rewards to go for, and people are trying to farm up those tickets so they can go for those fancy bragging rights avatars at the end of the month. I haven't even gotten around to going for a Infinity ticket yet. I've just been farming up some gold ones, but I'm gonna do it eventually because I want to try to get that cool avatar thing, because that's going to be the fancy bragging rights thing that's going to be hard to get. So it's nice to see that they didn't actually screw over Conquest like I was worried about. It's very
Yet.
you can just kind of grind it and play it, and now I think it addressed one of the biggest things the game was missing, which was, hey, if I don't really want to play ladder this second, but I have some quests I have to get done or whatever before it rolls over. Now I can do that without like totally throwing away my rank, or if I want to test a deck, or it's very good that there's a no stakes mode, in my opinion.
I do really
Proving
like that
grounds.
as well. Yeah.
I found myself last night. I wasn't able to play as much as I wanted to, and had to do a few quests before reset. And like within one game, I got 5 out of the 6 done. So
I like having a no stakes game mode that still rewards you for playing. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So I've been enjoying the Proving Grounds a lot. I did get one Infinity ticket,
Nice.
but I've mostly been just playing in the Proving Grounds. The problem that I have in playing in the Proving Grounds is that I'm basically getting matched into wave deck after wave deck, which, I mean, it's fine. It's just I'm not playing high. I'm trying to not play the high Evo decks because I'm not a fan of them. I don't begrudge anyone from doing it, but it does kind of suck when you get hard countered. Now, what this is leading to, as I said earlier, is some innovation. So basically, the decks that you're seeing in Conquest right now are Lane Lock Evo, Lockjaw Evo, and just generic Evo. Basically the same things that you'll see on Ladder. And KM Best and Lambie series, they tried to come up with, or they would claim they came up with bounce decks that are not as soft into Wave. KM takes the approach of running Electra and Shang-Chi as ways to disrupt the Evo decks early by killing their Nebula or Sunspot. And, after the wave turn, if there is one with Shang-Chi, Lambie kind of takes it even a step further. He's running Iron Man and Shang-Chi. So the idea is that if you know wave's coming, you can spam, Hit Monkey, Mysterio, maybe you have a 0-cost kitty and another cost card. Like you can, because of the beast discounts, right? And just the way the deck plays, you actually can make pretty scary monkeys on 5. And then on 6, you can just drop Iron Man, right? And that just kind of takes it from there. I've been playing it. Maybe I'm not as good with bounce as all that because I haven't really played a whole lot of it. It does feel like you have to put more effort to play out a wave than the opponent does to play it. But I guess my win rate today was fine. Just it feels very binary, right? You're either playing wave or you're playing,
You know what it's
under or
like?
over it.
You know what it's exactly like?
What is it exactly like?
It's exactly like Galactus. Do they have the card to counter my card, or do they not? And that's really legitimately what it feels like when you're playing a kitty deck or a Sarah deck and they have the wave. It's like, all right, they had the arrow, they had the debris, it's over. Except in Conquest it's even worse because it's happening all the time.
Also, by the way, if you're playing Conquest and Proving Grounds, what's very common is people fist bump and then snap on turn 1. So the idea here is that, if you both snap on turn 1 and play the game out, then the loser concedes and you just move on, right? To make the Proving Grounds go quicker. So I've been doing a lot of that too, and that's cool because it does let you get through your games quicker. What's bad about it is that it kind of like playing post infinite makes your snap game a little sloppy because you're not thinking about snapping because you already did on turn 1. Not everyone does this. So what I do is I only will do it if they do it, and if they don't, then I play for real, and it will usually go a few rounds. But yeah, I like the Proving Grounds. I just want them to fix the meta. When's the next OTA? Is it next week or the week after?
I think they do a week off after the patch week, so I think it's going to be the week after. Is I
So
believe how they do it.
so we're stuck with this for another 2 weeks, basically, minimum.
Yeah, the earliest is probably a week from next Thursday. So get your reps in. You enjoy the high evo stuff, and I mean, I think even if they change it, it'll probably still be pretty good after. If you don't like high evo, it's gonna be a little rough. Again, I think the Darkhawk stuff is kind of promising, but I think we've kind of explored it a lot, and there isn't any particularly like on regular ladder. You can get away with running these Shang-Chi control-y style decks because it's not as much of a hard counter. But hard counters are so like deterministic in Conquest that it's like you just can't get away with running those decks outside of the proving ground, and then it just makes the experience worse in a lot of the other leagues because you just run into the same. Like I should have counted how many times I ran into the lockjaw deck, and it was just like the first day or whatever. But it was literally almost every single game outside of proving grounds. I was just like got kind of grating.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it as much, but I'm seeing basically high evo. And I think the reason that you're not seeing it as much is because the bounce decks, the 2 bounce decks that I talked about, probably their best matchup out of the high evo decks are the lockjaw ones. Many of them are running Killmonger
Yeah,
instead of
I wanted to
Wave.
mention that because we've talked about this. And initially, I was on the wave train, but after playing with the deck more, I totally get Killmonger now, and I've actually liked it quite a bit more. And the big reason for that is we don't need like we want to be doing more powerful things than wave a lot of the time. Wave can be good as like an early ramp tool and whatnot, but we don't usually want to be waving on 5 most of the time. And Killmonger's nice because if we don't have Lockjaw or whatever, we just don't have anything else to play. So getting the Killmonger out, it can kill the kitty. The big thing is it helps deal with the lane lock Haiva, which I think is the better matchup against the Lockjaw version. But they
Yeah,
lean so heavily on their 1-drops that the Killmonger just completely flips the game around in your favor a lot of the time. So I
better in the
really
mirror.
liked that.
It's better in
Uh,
the Evo mirror too. They run a lot
yeah,
of powerful scaling 1-drops. Most aren't running
exactly.
armor. So eh, that deck is quite soft to these kind of evolving bounce decks, especially with Shang-Chi. I was talking to NHL NJ fan, our friend, fellow card gamer that we spend a lot of time with, and he was telling me that he feels that Shang-Chi is really bad in bounce, and maybe in a
I think it's
ladder
the only way you
context.
have a chance versus like decks just can't keep up with the amount of power these lockjaw lanes are putting out, and
Yeah,
it's like Shang-Chi, it's not always going to work, but I mean, what else are you gonna do? Like
I
you
was
can't
Darkhawk.
balk it, like
Darkhawk and Black Widow is what I tried. It was okay. The thing about Black Widow is that it actually really screwed over the Wave gamers because like I knew
yeah,
when they were gonna play Wave, so I'd give them a Widow's bite, and
yeah.
I think that if the power
Master
level,
Mold Gaming incoming. I saw people were trying that out as
yeah,
a means to counter, and I played a little bit of it and wasn't. I mean, I'm still yet to be very impressed by Mold, but it didn't feel that bad against the Lockjaw deck. Has so many big things in their hand, they
yeah.
struggle to empty their hand. So when you start loading them up with like the Sentinels or like you mentioned Black Widow, it can be kind of a pain for them to get rid of those cards sometimes, and then that helps your like Hawk, and so
So I think
it's
if
neat.
Evo gets toned down a little, that those might be viable strategies. Also, the 2 bounce decks are running Iceman for the same reason that you said.
Yeah, I put
Um,
Iceman in the Tempo Hawk deck. Initially, it was Nebula, but with Nebula, either like people were able to play around it or were blowing it up, and I was just like, I just want something that's immediately impactful. And Iceman has been really I always think back to how many times you just see an Iceman hit the one card you don't want it to hit, like Sarah or whatever, and it ends up totally screwing your whole game. And I'm like, as good as Nebula is, I've been liking Iceman more because his feels like you can't counter his impact really.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what happens when the meta is so warped around the card. Some wonky things start to emerge that would never seem correct under normal circumstances, but become viable because of these very narrow play lines. So like Iceman, people putting like Shang-Chi and Iron Man into bounce decks. Like it's just I don't know. Look, the next OTA can't come fast enough is really the bottom line.
And let's hope they can do it in the OTA and they don't decide it's something that needs to take a patch. I don't think that's what's going to happen because I do feel like they have tunable numbers that they can do without like significant text change to the card. But man, it's already going to be kind of a long wait. I hope they don't make it even longer because I just don't see a super reasonable answer to where we're at right now that hasn't already been kind of explored a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough couple weeks, guys. That's really the bottom line. I feel for you, Lee, because for me, I could just basically do my missions and peace out. You're streaming 4 days a week, and zombies, you're streaming several times a week. You have to grin and bear it for like 4 or 5+ hour play sessions. I'm curious, maybe to kind of shift the conversation a little bit. How do you guys play the game as frequently as you do when you're not enjoying the decks you're facing or the meta? Like, how do you keep your mental up in kind of powering through those situations? Because I certainly can't.
I just play less when I really don't like it. It's really that simple. Like I didn't stream a lot this week, and part of that has been like the meta stuff. Another part of that's been I've just been having more fun with another game. In this case, it's been Diablo 4. It's still been stealing a lot of my time.
It's so good.
And I think I think Snap had a really healthy meta for like about 2 months, so it had like a good run. And now we're getting back to this kind of not as enjoyable portion. But I hope they've learned from. The past issues they had with like Shuri and stuff, so that it's not quite as bad this time. And I think they have and they will. But I think they really have to figure out a lot of these bigger issues rather than just like individual meta stuff. Like one thing I brought up on Twitter the other day is, and this kind of ties into bringing players back to the game. Snap has a hard time introducing like new archetypes. This month is Move, which has never really gotten a ton of support, so it feels kind of like a new archetype. But Snap doesn't get like a whole ton of new archetypes, and I think that's one of the things that people really seek out in card games, right? It's why you go back to a new expansion in Hearthstone or Magic or whatever, is like you see these new ways to play the game that are different. And I think because of the acquisition system, Snap, it's just naturally harder to add new archetypes to the game. I mean, they've done it with like the big bads, and you could say Darkhawk, a few other things, but I do wonder, because the gameplay in Snap, I mean, played it for well over 1,000 hours, and it's great, but sometimes you want more than just like the archetypes we have, and I'm kind of curious how it's possible to deliver stuff like that into this game.
Oh, well, I know exactly how. Right into Series 5. That's how it gets delivered.
Yeah, as is tradition, big bad or bust. But I didn't mean to stray too far from the question.
Yeah,
I think the big thing is
play less.
Play less, and I find it's always more enjoyable just focusing on chat a bit. You're kind of talking with people, play a deck I kind of enjoy, and if you really aren't having fun in a match, I just move on to the next one. And I think that's still one of Snap's biggest strengths. It's very easy to move on to the next one without dwelling on it too much. Whereas like other card games I've played, like Hearthstone and Magic, I find that experience is a bit harder to do because you're a bit more invested in the game because the games are longer.
Yeah.
Maybe with Conquest, I'm feeling a little bit more of that because I was definitely a little more salty by the end of my Conquest stream because I was having a little bit of a bad run at the end of it, and I don't really get that way as much on ladder because it doesn't really matter on ladder. But yeah.
How do you deal with it, Lee? So you're streaming Monday through Thursday. I know this because you stream. Your stream time is so perfect. So you go live usually around 3 or 4 in the afternoon,
Yeah.
Pacific time. So that'd be like what, 7 at night?
Yeah, it's about
Eastern?
7:30 my time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Eastern, yeah.
I'm usually finishing work. I tend to start work early. You're about an hour usually in, and it's the perfect time right after work to watch, and you're very consistent. So how do you deal with that not enjoying the game and kind of powering through for what amounts
Yeah.
to a day's work?
Sometimes it can be difficult because like I have this issue where I just like if I make like a simple mistake, I'll just really dwell on it. But the way I get around a lot of it is just if I'm not having a good time with it, I'll just do viewer games with chat and I'll have them to like joke around with and just say like a whole bunch of nonsense or whatever it is. And it seems to work out fairly well for me in that regard. So if I'm ever feeling, or now with Conquest, like I'll just go in there and just mess around with like something incredibly ridiculous,
Right.
just for the fun of it to
Yeah,
just
the
get like
alternative
out of
is really
that.
nice.
Yeah, just to get out of that negative headspace that I put myself in sometimes on ladder. But yeah, it's usually just like me hanging out with chat and like just playing with them and the stupid things that we do.
Nice.
Yeah. Streaming's tough.
Yeah,
I am not.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It is definitely tough. Yeah, it and I think a lot of people, a lot of streamers are feeling it right now. Especially with all the Twitch changes and all this stuff going on
Yeah,
and oh man, it's so crazy
been rough.
seeing the thing this week where they're like, "Oh, we're finally caving on the 70-30 split, but for like 1% of the partner
Not
population."
even.
Yeah.
1% of the
already
1% of the
1% of the partner. To even be a partner, you're already like a 1% on Twitch or something. Like it's a very small amount of people. So it's really the 1% of the 1%. And those are already people, not that they don't deserve it, but they're already making money. And it doesn't like fix the bigger problem where
Twitch sends me a survey once a quarter where they're
Mhm.
like, "Hey, we want to support you, up and coming streamers. What do you think we could be
They're
doing
so
more
full
of
of
to you?" They are so full of because my response is, "What could you do to support my streaming? You could do more than absolutely nothing because
Yeah.
that's what you do." I mean, I'm not asking for anything, but you're telling me that you want to support me to grow my stream. You
And
do
it's just not
absolutely
true.
nothing
Yeah.
aside from provide the platform, which one will argue is expensive to run, but that's neither here nor there, right? I didn't ask them to create the service; they did, and I would just say stop with the pretense. Like I have no inclination that I'm going to make money off of this. Stop trying to plant that bug in my head because it's not going to work. Although I'm sure
Well,
it
that's their
does with others.
business, right? Like
Yeah,
they
I
make
suppose it
most of their
is.
money off of the big people, but they like need the smaller people there too, but only like the medium-sized smaller people. They don't care about like
Yeah, they
the
don't.
much smaller people. And like Twitch has never been it's always been an exceedingly risky thing to try and like survive purely off Twitch because I mean, as someone who does make a living in quotations off of content stuff, Twitch is always such a big question mark to me because I have no idea. Like they're always so inconsistent with like when they like how they do like their ads and they pay you for the ads and then subs can be inconsistent as well. It's like YouTube, I generally know what I'm getting into and like if I perform well, what I can expect and yada yada. Twitch, it's like a total crapshoot. I never have any idea what to expect from Twitch in a given month, and that's just not a sustainable way to like I can't imagine. I know some streamers like Twitch is it. They don't do YouTube and they don't do other things, and it can be especially hard to get into YouTube like later in the game because even if you have a decent viewer count on Twitch, sometimes I think some streamers have had a hard time growing their platform on YouTube because
It's a lot more work to edit videos too, right?
It is.
yeah, even all the work aside, like the algorithm really feels like it works against you. And Snap, like I feel like it's tricky to Snap videos can be tricky because people don't seek out gameplay a ton. Like they do watch it, but I feel like a lot of people watch like one or two bigger people, and some people watch the the gameplay and stuff like I do. But I've always noticed gameplay was never the biggest thing for me, even though it did okay, and it was always super hit or miss, which is weird because that you'd think that would be the thing people are like interested in is seeing the game, but can be tricky.
Yeah.
It is very hit or miss. I mean, you can have like one video that does incredibly well, then the next day it's same kind of thing, and it's just falls flat.
Yeah, and it's like, what did I do differently for that one
Yeah.
video to do so well? And it just doesn't really
Is that a
tell you
function?
at all.
Is that a function of Snap or is that a function of YouTube?
Well,
Or is
it's a
it like-
YouTube issue, but
It's-
like
yeah.
it feels kind of different to me with Snap a bit because I see even some creators who are even a bit larger in like the 10,000-ish mark, so not like the hugest the huge, but pretty solid following. Even keeping up with their stuff, you can see such inconsistent viewership around gameplay, and it's always struck out to me with like Snap compared to like Hearthstone and other games where even if you were a smaller size, I felt like your viewership was at least a little bit more consistent on gameplay, whereas Snap it's like, and maybe that's partly to do with the collection system, or I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning is, but it's definitely a trend I've noticed with Snap.
That's really too bad. It's funny that the best part of the game, which is the gameplay, is the part that people seem to be engaging with the least, and the parts that frustrate us, like the collection system, the economy, opening collectors' caches, which are the in-game loot boxes. That's what people choose to engage with. It's crazy. It's weird. Maybe that's a mobile game thing. I don't know, but I mean, it's certainly.
Yeah, there are a lot of different factors for why it could be the way it is, but it's not that people don't watch it at all, but it's always very strange to me how few people are interested in it relative to like the more news focused topics or the economy focused topics.
So let me ask this. Do you think there's like a niche for someone to emerge as the heel? Since there's so much rage bait and Snap, will one of you two right here, ZombiesGoNomNom, Lee Acer, commit to becoming the Snap heel? That could be a brand. That could be a brand, right?
It
You know,
definitely
and
could be. I think it's too exhausting to do content. Like, I mean, I'm still gonna do content calling out the practices I dislike, but like, I think that's one of the things that's like pushing me away from wanting to do content about the game is like I don't like having all this like negative stuff surrounding what is supposed to be something you're supposed to get like excited about or should be looking forward to. It's like kind of ruins it for me. And so, while I still want to cover it, I can't imagine
Right.
making it like a main focus. Plus, you have to deal with like some of the stupidest like things you've ever seen people say on the internet when you do that. Because
that's gonna
God,
happen no matter what you do, though, right?
yeah, but I can choose how much of that I invite in. Like it's so, oh man, some of the takes just get. I mean, I swear, some of the times I do the tweets now, I just do it so people just kind of show themselves, and I can hit the mute button and never have to hear such an awful take again.
People who play Marvel Snap have really bad takes. Like I feel like, all right, Blue, here you are insulting your audience. Audience, I apologize, but it's true. I find that the proportionate
It's like
number
any
of people
game,
have
but
really
yeah, it's
I
worse.
feel
It's
it's
worse.
more. I feel it's worse.
It is
I'm not
worse.
gonna lie. Sometimes my favorite part of your videos, zombies, is the comment
The
section.
comments, yeah.
And that's not to take away from the videos, which are good, but the comments are so absurdly ridiculous. Like, you know,
Yeah.
my reaction is oftentimes people this stupid don't deserve to live. Like, how could, like, they must be trolling. They can't actually believe
Like,
the
how do you
things that they're saying.
function? Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been assured that they do feel that way and they're not trolling, and wow. It is breathtaking. It is a sight to behold.
Certainly is.
And as a side note, the comments that usually get me like super riled up are the ones that argue like terrible things based on MCU or Marvel lore. That's, if you want to get me angry, make an argument for like game balance or game economy based on the lore. And there's
yeah,
so many of these people.
That's why they nerfed Galactus, right? Because he's not a big bad in the MCU yet, so they're waiting for the Galactus movie, and then they're gonna buff him up again.
Is
Yeah,
there
Uh,
gonna be a Galactus movie?
Fantastic Four is probably
Fantastic
gonna have
Four.
Galactus.
Oh gosh, I really hope they do. You know what's
I don't
you know
if
what's
they're gonna do it
terrible?
right away, or
This is what screws everything up. They have all these unreleased variants that like people
they're
would
so
have.
slow. If I have like,
Oh my
crazy.
gosh, they're so slow.
And where's that improved store they were talking about like months ago? I'm still waiting on that. Like, like there's still characters I would have given them money to have skins for, like Kitty Pride. It's stupid, but a big part of the reason I barely play Kitty nowadays is because I do not like the default artwork, and I don't have another one. It's like, all right, I guess I just won't play the deck.
I mean, I've been waiting for Bass since day one.
Well, there you go.
Armor took me like 7 months. That's insane.
But
It's
like
insane.
now that the card got nerfed, like what's the point in buying the variants now, because the card's trash. So like, because some of the variants were really cool.
It could get buffed.
Yeah, they said they can buff it. Maybe they'll make him 9 power so you can get Shang-Chi'd.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be fitting.
I mean, yeah. Dan hit Bast. If you're out there, you know, I'm waiting. Or what's that person? Is it Willow? No, it's not Willow. Who's waiting for the Kim Jacinto?
Pretty sure it was Willow. I think
it was
Willow
Willow?
gave up.
The Kim Jacinto what?
No.
No. Yeah. Oh,
I
Willow was the
finally
big
got
Galactus
it.
Enjoyer.
I'm waiting
Yeah.
for the Kim Jacinto Shang-Chi. I've been
He's
waiting
moved
for
on
it
to
for
DC
like
Dual Force. I can't blame him. Which also, not to sidebar too much, but so I was supposed to play that game this weekend, and then they had server issues the other day. I was like, I'll just wait till tomorrow. They're doing it all weekend. And then the server issues were so bad, they ended up canceling the
I
whole
saw
weekend.
that. Yeah,
I was just
not
like,
that
oh
I can
man,
even.
DC's having a rough start, because this is
Yeah.
last weekend they did a streamer weekend, and I had a code, but I was out of town, so I didn't have a chance to partake. But it looks a lot more like Hearthstone, definitely more that style of card game. But the gameplay apparently seemed kind of alright, so I was gonna try it out. But I guess now we'll wait and see on that one. But for anyone who was hoping it was bringing some competition to Snap, it seems very, very unlikely. It's not. It just doesn't compete. It's more going to compete with like Hearthstone than anything else.
Is
And
it
even
really
then,
gonna? Yeah, I don't know. I watched a bit of it, and I mean,
they have
aesthetically,
a
it's
cool, like, their team seems nice and the concept's neat, but it definitely feels kind of dated. As a, I don't know, I think NHL is the one who said it, but installing like the downloader is like, man, did this come straight out of like 2007? It feels really old. The artwork's kind of okay, but it doesn't really hold the candle to like the quality you got used to with Snap. With the art, Snap art is just so good.
It really is, and that's why we get grumpy that they haven't introduced the store improvements yet. Although I really shouldn't complain, because I've been on a bit of a tear lately with the variants. I got Baby Thanos, I got Hitmonkey, I got Wave. Those were all ones I really wanted.
My
Although-
store has been trash. You're lucky.
Mine's been pretty bad for the most part.
Yeah.
I did get the baby silk though the other day, so I can't complain too much because that was a cool one too, and it was only a 700, so I was like, all right.
Oh,
I
nice.
had some gold saved up, so I got that. But for the most part, it's been pretty mediocre for a while for me. I really wish they'd do some kind of improved store. Like, I it's crazy to me that they seem so money hungry with some of these decisions, and then they don't actually make a decision that would make them a lot of money from the people who have generally been shown be willing to give them money. It's like if you make it easy for me to get a variant for a card the day I buy it, the chance of me giving you money is significantly higher than if it shows up in my shop 2 months later. Because I'm
Yep.
probably going to be playing the card a bunch when I get it because it's a fancy new thing, and I want to flex the cool cosmetic that you have available. But unfortunately, Flannel RNGesus has to say you are granted a special variant tonight or you're not, and because there's so many of them in the game, the odds are stacked against you to get what you're looking for, and it's just so
imagine
annoying.
Imagine you can consistently buy the variants before the cards get nerfed.
If only.
Yeah.
If
And they would
only.
capitalize on that too, right? Like because then more people would probably buy them. So
I
don't
know this has been suggested. I wish they'd just roll the shop 3 times a day.
Yeah, that would be a start. If something else, they should also make it so you can't see the same one over and over again. I know we've all had that happen at one point where there's
All
one
the
that keeps
time.
showing up. And it's like I've passed on this like 5 times. I don't want it. Please stop showing it to me.
Yeah, the two it keeps showing me is the summer Doctor Octopus, the summertime one, and the Sarah where she's holding a knife, like the 1500 variant.
Yeah,
I forget the
yeah.
date. Yeah, I keep seeing those. It's like, guys,
It's like I don't want
Bast, come on,
them. Yeah, you're showing me the wrong thing.
let's go. Yeah, it's crazy, and this goes back to what I was saying before, that like it really feels like there are areas of immaturity, and the shop is certainly one of them. But yeah, it's really interesting that that we have so much to say about Snap this week, but I'm still playing it. Although perhaps with high, it's going to be the meta, the balance, the high evo that's going to get me to play less, and not any of these things we talked about, which is really funny if you think about that in context.
Well, yeah, because we're like the whales who have most of what we want, and we can just kind of play the game. And that's been like the saving grace in spite of all the economy nonsense. It's like the game itself has still been good for a while, but now I think we're trending in a direction where it's going to be a bit less good. And so combining that with all the bad economy stuff, it's just like it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
But hopefully they're able to make some adjustments via OTA. I mean, I still think they put themselves in a tough spot with things like Kitty and Wave and whatnot, where it's always going to be. I think Wave is going to basically have she's going to do the same thing they didn't want her doing in like a different way, which is the whole reason they changed Wave was because they're like, well, we have a bunch of cards that we want to have cost reduction be a part of, but we can't with current Wave, so it's limiting design space. I think they're going to run into the same issue where current Wave ends up limiting their design space a lot too, and they're going to try and change it somehow, and I don't really know. Kind of much like Galactus, I'm not really sure how you actually change that card very effectively, because like putting it to 4 or whatever, I've seen people suggest that would just like straight murder the card. Like they want it to be a ramp thing, but now it's like being used as more of a lockout tool, and it doesn't sound like that's really what they want it to be. But they're bigger, game balance things that involve that. So it's like if we change Wave, then to the Kitty decks or the Swarm decks or whatever get to be too good. They put themselves in a tough spot.
I'm glad I'm not them.
Yeah, me too. That's how I
Really,
it's how I felt with the Galactus change, and I feel even more with it now. It's like I do not envy being in a position where they're trying to figure all this out, because I don't know what the answers are, and it's pretty important for them to figure it out, because otherwise it's going to start having a more negative impact on the game. And I'm very curious to see if as time goes on and the data comes out and it's shown that Galactus is significantly worse. I wonder, if so many people who really liked it, if there are a decent amount of people who just quit entirely, if people move to something else. Like I'm curious to see like the long-term effects of that on the player base. Because for every person who really hated it, I think there is a person out there who really loved it, and I'm a bit more interested to see what happens to those people.
Well, Concerned Mom quit, and Ben from work quit. Those are two immediate friends of mine that quit. Now, whether that's permanent or not remains to be seen, but I mean, they're pretty frustrated with the state of things. What I'll be interested in is when we meet in 2 weeks, the OTA should have happened. So hopefully we'll have some more positive things to talk about next week. Maybe the meta will open up a little bit and we'll be able to re-engage with the parts of the game we're enjoying. But it looks like until Thursday, the 29th, we're kind of in limbo, and not the 7th turn of a snap game limbo, but like, purgatory. So I guess, guys, we're kind of rounding out the 2-hour mark here, or we've already rounded off the 2-hour mark. Curious if you have any final thoughts on Conquest or Galactus or anything else. Otherwise, perhaps maybe we'll get to wrapping.
Yeah.
Conquest good, Galactus Nerf bad.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
How succinct.
I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, it's really sucks that they nerfed it the way they did. I mean, I don't know how you change it, but I don't think this was the answer. And that's my piece on it right now.
I thought my idea was good. I usually don't like to throw my hat in the ring for like design ideas, but I thought my idea was good. You can't play them before turn 5.
Yeah, I think it would be still worse, but yeah, it would preserve the bit more of the original card, and it would deal with some of the stuff people don't like about it, which was like the Spider-Man lockout stuff. I think that would have been better than what we got.
Right? I mean,
I didn't even believe this change. We didn't mention it, but this change leaked out quite early. And most people didn't believe it, myself included, because it was that bad of a change. Like, we were just like, nah, that's totally made up. Someone said my dad works at Second Dinner, and I knew the Nerf early. Like, it felt like one of those, like, oh, my uncle works at Nintendo. Like,
Really,
I didn't believe. I don't think most people believed it, and then it came out and it was true, and it was like, oh boy. It's never a good thing if people are thinking your rumor is like it's so unlikely because it just feels that off base. It's never a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, good succinct review. Galactus change bad, Conquest good, meta bad. There's your compliment sandwich.
We inversed it, yeah.
Well, the inverse sandwich. All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna call it there. Thanks for the viewers watching live in chat on Twitch while we stream this, and for those who are listening to the audio pod or on YouTube, we appreciate you bearing with us as we kind of had a little bit of a sour note this week. Like I said, I'm hoping next week, post OTA, we'll be on an upswing, and we'll have some more positive things to talk about. Lee, I want to thank you for joining us to mourn, to pour one out for Big Daddy G. Where can people find your lovely content on the interwebs?
First of all, thank you for having me. Really appreciate the invite. You guys can find me on Twitter, _Leacer_. You can find me on YouTube at Leacer, just Leacer is the channel name, and on Twitch as well. Twitch.tv/Leacer. And I'm streaming there 4 days a week for about 5-6 hours a night. YouTube, I'm posting daily shorts and weekly videos. Snap content, obviously.
And I put those links into the Twitch chat for those who are watching live. I definitely recommend you check out Lee. Anytime, you're always welcome.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Wolf, where might the fine denizens of this podcast. We're the denizens of the podcast. I can't speak English anymore. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm over on Twitter at NateWolfeTCG. It's NateWolfeTCG. Pretty active in the Born to Be Wild Discord. There's a Snap section too, where we share funny usernames and deck lists and news and stuff like that. So if you're interested in interacting with us, I recommend that, Twitter or Discord, and I can pop a Discord invite in the chat real quick as well.
I already did, but
Oops.
you can always use another.
I spelled it wrong anyways, but there you go.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, yeah, it's always fun talking Snap. It's a little bit somber this time because I'm salty about my favorite deck getting hit. But I still hit Infinite over this past week, and that was cool. And it's always good hanging out with everybody. Lee, it's always a pleasure. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Nom Nom.
Yeah. I've been streaming a little less recently because of the aforementioned reasons. So I respect Lee's commitment to it. I wish I had that good of a schedule. It's harder than people would think it would be. But yeah, I'm still doing the YouTube stuff. Still trying to find a rhythm for that I'm happy with. Covering a lot of the news stuff, a lot of deck stuff. A little bit less gameplay, but still doing that sometimes. So you can find me over there, ZombiesGoNomNom. Same with Twitch, Zombies with the Z at the end of it. I'm gonna try and I think it's gonna be kind of slow until the next patch, but I'll be doing some Conquest streams because I think Conquest is really fun. Worth noting though, man, it is harder to stream Conquest because you're trying to focus a bit more on the game and your plays and whatnot, and
Yep.
it definitely adds to the experience, but gonna be doing more of that soon. So yeah, and maybe some more Diablo 4 stuff because I've been really liking Diablo 4.
Very good. Thank you for that. And I put those into the Twitch chat as well. As for me, you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/Blutrane, BLUTRANE. That is the social media platform I am most active on. I am also active on the Born to Be Wild Discord as well. Generally, I stick to the Snap section these days, so you can certainly find me there as well. Also, you should follow Born to Be Cosmo on Twitter, so that you can
Keep it Cosmo.
Yeah, you can keep it Cosmo by knowing when we go live. Retweet news as it comes up. Try to be sparing with it. Don't want to spam too much with it, but it's certainly a good resource if you're interested in catching these shows live, or if you've missed it, where you might find it on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, etc. I will put that into chat, which I just did. Excellent. So that's it. Galactus dead. Conquest is a thing. High Evo is ruling the roost. This is about the time where I say I'll catch you next time and to keep it Cosmo. But this is where I'm going to invite Second Dinner to embrace keeping it Cosmo as a mentality. Go a little
more of that.
Go a little less hard on the bundles, and maybe trust your own metrics and data. If Galactus really needed to eat a Nerf, then so be it. But the internet is not going to improve your game, and you're never going to make everyone happy. So I hope that it's certainly not an influence. But yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about the anticipated OTA and the upcoming July season. So I look forward to talking to you guys then. And until then, as we invited Second Dinner to do, remember everyone, keep it Cosmo.
Keep it Cosmo.
Keep it Cosmo.
Thank you, ChatGPT-4. You've given us our slogan.
It's a good one, too.
It is.
Nobody
Enough
can argue
said,
with that.
bub.